Good morning. Welcome to AP Computer Science A. Today we're going to cover section 5.6, Constructors. So make sure that you have your notes ready to go. Make sure that you have your repo, type in your name, period, and don't forget to click submit once you are done so you can get credit for this assignment. Today we're working with constructors. And we actually started working with constructors back on Unit 2 when we started to construct or create objects such as the circle, rectangle, and regular polygon from the adhesive classes. We actually created objects on the last lesson. We coded an entire class where we had two constructors. We had one constructor and we had a second constructor. Now we know that whenever we create an object, those two constructors are being used whenever we use the keyword new. So we are instantiating an object. The keyword new is going to call the constructor, and it's going to decide which constructor to use depending on the arguments that you are sending. So for example, for the first hamburger, we did not send any arguments, so therefore Java is going to be looking for the constructor that has no parameters, so therefore it's going to use the first constructor with one patty, one cheese, and tomato. If we send two integers in a boolean false, then Java is going to be looking for a constructor that has two integers and a boolean. And we constructed our two hamburgers. So if we run it, this is the result that we got last time, correct? So let's assume that I say, I'm actually going to send two and only two. I just want two patties, forget about the cheese, and no tomato. And if I run it, it's going to give me an error. It's going to say there's no such constructor where we take only one integer and a boolean. It's going to be looking for a constructor that has to take one integer and a boolean, and it says there's not such a thing. So therefore, we are not able to use it in such a manner. But now that we place it, it's able to find it, and we can actually run and construct our objects and print each of the objects. Today we're going to expand on that knowledge. We are going to start first by exploring the keyword, this keyword. So many times you're going to be able to see the parameters, the formal parameters that are going to be placed here are going to have exactly the same name as the variables that we are using above. And one of the reasons is that sometimes it's going to be difficult to be able to think, okay, what name am I going to use for patty? P, and just to be able to keep track of them. So instead, we're actually going to use the same one, patty. Cheese will be cheese, and T will be tomato. Now remember that instead of saying the number of patties here, we actually are able to call another method with our constructor, and we use the mutator method to be able to set the number of patties. So let's go and change this to patty. And then it's going to be calling this method that's going to be dealing with some of the restrictions that we have for the number of patties that we had before, from 1 to 5. And therefore, if we actually want to be able to change it to, let's say we want to be able to offer it to 10, we can actually just quickly change it to 10 and go from there. Instead of C, now it's going to be cheese. Instead of T will be now tomato. But now Java is going to have a difficult time, because once you get to this line number 20, it's going to say, okay, cheese. Is that referring to the cheese that's coming in or the cheese that was up here? So now we have two variables in the same program with the same name. Now the scope for this cheese is here. Now remember, the scope is where it exists. It's been defined here. Once you end this method, you don't have any access. Because we define the variable cheese outside those methods, this variable is going to exist throughout the class. So to be able to differentiate whether this cheese is this cheese or this cheese is this cheese, we actually going to use the word this. And you'll see it often, this dot. It means that the variable cheese is going to be referring to the main cheese of the class, which is up here, to the instance variable. And the one that does not have this is going to be referred just to the parameter that's coming in. Same thing, tomato, because both of them are named the same, we're going to say this tomato, that is going to be referred to the instance variable up here. And we can actually go through the class and do the same thing. Patty, we can say patty. So therefore, that's going to be patty. And this is the instance variable is going to be this patty. This is the parameter, patty. And the instance variable that we're going to change to 1 is going to be this patty. It's going to be this patty, is going to be the instance variable, and this is the parameter that's coming in, that's patty. And therefore, you won't be seeing the same name as the instance variables are being used, the same variable name. So you have to be careful. Now notice that in here, for this method, I only need to say return this party because there's no parameter that's coming in, so there's only one to use. Nothing to change here, nothing to change here. Once again, we can go through the process. Do we need to say this patty here? No, because for this part, the only time that we are using patty is this will be referring to the instance variable. Now you can always use this. If you actually use this dot, that's fine. You know that you are using the instance variable from the definition above. And same thing, you can say this cheese, and there's going to be times that you are going to be seeing it. And you can say this tomato, but you don't need it because we don't have 2 tomatoes in this method. And here, if you want to be able to use this all the time, you can as well. So that is the keyword this. Now, another way to be able to use the keyword this is whenever you are overloading your parameters, notice that in this case, we are placing, or if we have a regular hamburger with 1 patty, 1 cheese, and true, we are able to simplify our code by saying, no, instead of having all this code in here, I can actually use this constructor to do all the work for me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be calling that constructor instead. So I'm going to say, but that constructor is within the same class. So we're going to say this. How many patties? 1. How many cheese? 1. Tomato is true. That is going to be taking the place of setting it here. So what Java is going to do whenever it says this in parentheses, is going to be looking for another constructor that has 2 parameters, 2 integers, and a boolean. It finds it, and it's going to be calling this method, and it's going to be sending a 1 as the argument, receiving it here, 1 for the cheese, and true for the tomato. So you'll be seeing this, and you want to be able to get used to doing this whenever you are building more than one constructor. You want to be able to create the constructor that takes the most parameters and using that one to as you build another one. So let's go and create one more constructor. Let's go and take a public hamburger. This constructor is just going to be taking the number of patties. And what we want is patty equal to the patties that are coming in. It's going to be this cheese equal to 1, and this tomato is equal to 2. So just in case they just want me to just say how many patties they want. Now the question is, do I need the word this here? No, because there's only one cheese that's going to be referred to it. But we can keep it here. Do I need the keyword this here? No, because there's only one tomato that's been defined in this method, which is the one above. Nothing conflicts. Now, do I need this for the patty? Yes. But we can actually use this method, this constructor, to simplify it. So instead of doing that, instead of placing all three, assigning all three variables in here, we can call a constructor, and we're going to say this is going to take the number of patties. Well, that we are receiving it from the user. The number of cheese will be 1 and true. So therefore, I can delete this, and that will simplify my code. So whenever we create a hamburger and we just send one integer, now remember, that is called overloading. We have 3 different methods that take different number of parameters or different type of parameters. Whenever I get here, it's going to be calling this constructor. It's going to send those in and send it out, or hamburger. So now let's go and create a third hamburger. Let's go and create another hamburger, and we're going to call our third constructor h3 equal to new hamburger. We're going to say we want 5 patties, 1 cheese, and tomato. And let's go and print it out. And now we can run it. And now we have our first, it's a simple single with tomato. Our second one is calling the third constructor 2, 2, and false. And then by sending only one integer, we actually are able to create 5 patties, 1 cheese with tomato. And once again, as a reminder, whenever you have to construct more than one, whenever you have to code more than one constructor, you want to start with a bigger constructor first, the one that takes the most parameters. And that way, you can actually call the constructor as you build the other ones. So that is the lesson for today. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.